I am so delighted to have Gilad Atzmon with me this afternoon. I admire
Me
this
too.
man so much. His writing, his music, he is an exceptional human being. Welcome, Gilad.
Thank you so much, Veronica. You made my day.
Thank you.
I'm delighted. I'm delighted to be with you, and it's actually a long time
Yes,
since we
much
met.
too
Yeah,
long, much too long.
I agree.
Well, we're both excited about Brexit. And
And I'm definitely excited by the meaning of it.
yes,
But I can also see that not much is going to happen yet.
absolutely true. But we
And
have,
and I think that people don't understand the meaning of Brexit. I'm happy to talk to you about it. If
that's
I get that
wonderful. Yes, you enlighten people. That's
I don't know. You may not agree with me. You know, I'm still thinking. Kind of, it's an evolving process for me.
yes.
But I just gave a talk in New York 2 3 days ago
Mhm.
about it. Basically, for me, Brexit, Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders are all symptoms of fatigue.
Yep.
Fatigue. This is obvious, but then fatigue of what? This is the big question. So in America, they want to believe that they are tired of party politics.
Hmm.
Party politics has a lot to do with it,
Yes.
but this is not the real problem. This is a symptom
Yes.
of the problem. In Britain, we tend to believe that we have a lot of problems because of Brussels. But Brussels itself is a symptom of the problem rather than the problem itself.
Yes.
And I will try to elaborate.
Please.
One of the things that happened to us in Britain, your crowd, your audience, are they mainly British or international? I think that they are international.
International. Yes.
Yeah, so I'll speak a bit of Britain, but the same can be said about France, about pretty much every Western country
Yes.
except Germany,
Hmm.
and we will understand very soon why.
Yes.
What we definitely remember, people my age, your age,
Oh, yes.
that once upon a time we had a good reason to wake up in the morning because we had to go to work. The people who were working class are now workless class. And
Absolutely.
many of them are what we call some sociologists call underclass.
Yes.
Somewhere along the line, we were reduced into consumers.
Yes.
So if 30 or 40 years ago, politicians promised us jobs, we would vote the politician that can produce votes, produce work, healthcare, education.
Yes.
Now, our politicians are basically there to sustain consumption. How do they do it? By credit.
Yes.
So your house, the value of your house went up by hundreds or thousands of percents.
Hmm.
The same applies to me. We are kind of living in a financial bubble.
Yes.
If we die, our kids have to pay a lot of tax.
Yes.
This is a good reason not to invest in health services because me as a dead person, I was much more for the state than as a living musician or a living thinker.
Yeah.
People are tired of it. but it has very little to do with Brussels.
Yeah.
It has to do with what I define as mammonism. Okay, so I came to realize that what we are dealing here is what I define as mammonism. Mammonism is a type of capitalism that is driven by trade, by banking, commodity, stock exchange. It is a kind of capitalism that is not driven by manufacturing. And when I started to delve into this notion of mammonism, I kind of had a deja vu. I realized that I wasn't very original, which is a devastating experience for a jazz artist, but it happens. And it took me some time to think about it. And I realized that I really read about it before. And I'm referring here to the work of Henry Ford, the international Jew. Mm-hmm. I decided last week to read Henry Ford again. I remember that it was kind of a slightly anti-Semitic text and so on and so on. And I decided to read the text again and got a completely different impression of Henry Ford. I don't think that Henry Ford produced an anti-Semitic text. Mm-hmm. Henry Ford was troubled with the international Jew. He realized that not all Jews were international Jews. But what he really said, in the 1920s, we have a serious problem, we, the American people, to deal with. Now, we have to understand, Henry Ford is probably one of the greatest Americans ever, if not the greatest one. He is there with Lincoln and Washington. He is the man who invented American industry. He is a man who cared for his workers. He is the man who established the minimal wages. Mm-hmm. He, at a certain stage in the early 20th century, realized that he was making a lot of money. His workers were at the time on $2.2 a day. Mm-hmm. He came to his board of directors. He told them, we make too much money. We have to share it with our workers. And he put it up to $5, basically more than double. This is not something that happens. It never happened to me and not to any other worker I'm aware of. And at the same time, Henry Ford was under a lot of pressure from those people whom he called the international Jews, those people that now we see as Goldman Sachs.
Yes.
George Soros, who was telling us before the Brexit how he is going to gamble on our votes and how he's going to try to make money off our decisions. It's the typical Mammonite. By the way, JP Morgans are also Mammonites, and they're not necessarily international Jews. America didn't listen to Henry Ford. Mm-hmm. And it is now an industrial desert.
Yes.
It is a service economy. Mm-hmm. We didn't listen to Henry Ford. When I was young, my father is not working anymore, but he was an engineer. Mm-hmm. He would talk to me about Sheffield Steel.
Yes.
About manufacturing. For him to have an English car was mm-hmm. a big thing. There are not many British brand names anymore.
No.
One of the most devastating things that I understand, Henry Ford was actually inspired, and he quotes Werner Sombart all the time. He was very inspired by Werner Sombart, a German economist who wrote a very, very interesting book about Jews and capitalism in the early 20th century, I think 1903, 4, 5, I don't remember exactly when. Now, Henry Ford wasn't an academic, yet he was actually extremely uneducated. He was a farmer's family, 8 years of education, definitely not a professor. And yet, he read Werner Sombart, and he took a lot from Sombart, and in a way, it's even more interesting from Sombart. What Sombart realized is that unlike Max Weber, that thought that capitalism has something to do with Protestant culture, Sombart realized that capitalism is attached to the Jews. Wherever the Jews are, there is kind of a prosperous capitalist condition, prosperous money, which is sometimes a good thing. I mean, if somebody realized that, for instance, when the Jews were living in Southern Europe, in Venice, in Spain, in Portugal, these were the center of world finance, world business, world trade.
Absolutely, yeah.
Then we have the Inquisition. They're kicked out. And within a decade, Spain collapses, Portugal collapses, Venice collapses, and the money and the trade moves to Amsterdam, to Frankfurt, to Britain, and so on. Sombart realizes the Jews are very clever, and by the way, I see in Henry Ford a lot of, may even be admiration to the Jews for inventing all those financial tools. You know, how to deal with interest, how to deal with a different form of transaction and guarantors and all those systems that allow you to trade without really even having money. Sombart asks, how is it possible that a Jew a peddler Jew managed to open kind of to sell goods in front of a German shop? They sell it for half the price, no shame. How do they manage to do it? And Sombart says, first, they're way more connected internationally than the German shopkeeper who has to train with guildas and to be professional. The Jew doesn't have to, the peddler doesn't have to do any of it. And most interesting, for the Jew to experience bankruptcy may as well be a profitable experience. There is a business. When someone loses money, when we may lose money now in Britain, Soros is making money, or another bank is making money. This is how it works.
I know.
And he said that the Jewish capitalism looked into this opportunities and developed a lot of financial tools that exploit this situation. This is what Sombart is doing. Henry Ford understands it 20 years later, and he writes The International Jew. And then I understood that Henry Ford was actually in a very unique position that is very relevant to us now, post-Brexit, not knowing what is ahead of us. Here we are. We have here Henry Ford, the most interesting entrepreneur in America, genius engineer, major innovator, and he's subject to a lot of pressure from above, from Wall Street. He produces a car. He made it into a massive hit. He pays the workers more than anyone else. He made the car half the price of all his competitors, and Wall Street pushing him from above. But at the same time, he can still feel a lot of pressure from below, from these new Jewish revolutionary called unionists. This is what I call the kosher sandwich.
Yes.
You feel it from above and from below.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, 7 years later, or 6 years later, after the publication of the International Jew, Fritz Lang, I think that Fritz Lang was a Jew, makes one of the most interesting films in the history of cinema. Maybe the most important film, if we have to look at the history of cinema. Metropolis. In Germany, in Berlin. There is a museum in Berlin on Metropolis, how they made this incredible film. What is Metropolis? Metropolis is the story of the leader. The person, basically the Führer. The person who unites the worker and the industrialist. Unite them into a productive system that benefits all. 6 years later, Hitler is in power in Germany. He decided that he was that person. Very soon after, he managed to convince the Germans that he was that person because he put them on a recovery project that has no precedent in human history.
That's
Whether
right.
we like Hitler, we don't like Hitler, he was a racist, we have a lot of issues. I'm not running here and Hitler apology seminar. One thing that everybody accepts about Hitler is that the financial recovery in Germany was like with no precedent in history.
That's right.
The quickest ever. And why? Because he said, we are going back to manufacturing.
Yes.
And the people in Britain, they are tired of mammonism,
Yes.
of GSS, Goldman, Sachs, and Soros.
Absolutely.
They are tired of those people, the people in America.
Yeah.
They think that it's Trump. It's not Trump. Trump is himself a Mammonite. Yeah? It's not Bernie Sanders. They are just symptoms of the fatigue of Mammonism.
That's right.
To liberate ourselves is to say, we had enough. We want to work. We want to be productive.
Yes.
Look what is happening in America. We have now a race war. How is it possible that black working people shoot policemen who are white working people?
No.
So we are pushed into this conflict, which is exactly where the Mammonites want us to be. What is the role of the police? What is the role of the police in America? America is the most segregated place on the planet. The police is there to keep people apart.
That's right.
They're doing it for the Mammonites.
That's right.
What is shocking, again, the kosher sandwich. On the one hand, we have these oligarchs that keeping us apart and make sure that the police kind of protect their areas. On the other end, we have the Frankfurt School, the Jewish left,
Yes.
that want us to stay apart from each other. Rather than being one people, we are one people. I'm white. I'm playing jazz musician. I'm playing jazz music. I dedicated my life to playing black music.
Yes.
For me, there is no barrier between human being. It's virtual. It's something that is imposed on us. How is it imposed on us? This is exactly the project of the Jewish left. They teach us to talk as a Jew, as a Muslim, as a woman,
That's
as
right.
a feminist, as a lesbian, as a gay,
Yes.
as a transvestite. This is how they create sectors. And again, we have the Jewish progressive left, what they call Tikkun Olam, rabbi learners and other characters. And on the other end, we have the Mammonites and the so-called humanity, the Goyim,
Yes.
are falling into this trap till the moment they start to understand that this project is uniquely rotten and they start to see the footsteps.
Yes.
And then we have a disaster. And we are getting to that point.
It's going to be very difficult. Very, very difficult.
By the way, it is already very, very difficult.
I know, but we must stand our ground and we must go back to being a manufacturing country. It was Margaret Thatcher that changed this country.
By the way, this is true. I don't think that she changed this country. It is very interesting. I know that British people really like to put off Margaret Thatcher, and we have another Margaret Thatcher now.
I hope not.
Yes. No, definitely. I probably did in 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Theresa May is about to become the prime minister. It is official now. She has beautiful legs, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I'm astonishing. Definitely better than Tony Blair's legs. Okay. But
yeah.
Anyway, when it comes to Margaret Thatcher, she had to deal with some crucial financial crises.
Yes.
There were probably few things she could do to keep producing products that are not financially valid. Is definitely not the way forward.
No.
So to sustain, for instance, the mines and coal production and so on, and coal production, it probably wasn't something that she could do, that Britain could afford. However, her chief financial advisor was a guy called Milton Friedman.
Absolutely, yes.
And Milton Friedman was an ultra-Zionist Jew. By the way, at the same time, he was also the chief advisor for Menachem Begin.
Yes.
And Pinochet, by the way, and Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
So we see actually two major industrial forces adopting the philosophy of a service economy.
Yes.
Now, what is the whole idea about service economy? Jewish economy is service economy. There is scholars of Jewish history and Jewish economy, and I regard Milton Friedman, by the way, as one of them. You know, he wrote he gave a very interesting lecture on Jews and capitalism, arguing that capitalism is the ultimate environment for the Jews.
Yes.
People can find it. It's available on the net, both as a text and as a speech, and they can read my analysis of this text as well.
Yes.
Service economy is very good for the Jews.
Yes.
Why? Because they have a lot of goyim, a lot of Gentiles walking around them.
Oh,
All
yes.
right, so it's the service economy. They can trade and do the banking. The Papa Rothschild sent Nathan to London, Moshe to Paris, and Soros to New York.
Yep.
It works. It
Mhm.
works. But now we know that it definitely doesn't work for an entire society.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is the story. And why? And why? Now, Britain, the last time I looked, we were the sixth greatest economy in the world.
Mhm.
Now, this is very strange because, I'm a musician and I'm touring in Britain a lot.
Yes.
I've been in the most remote villages and cities of this country.
Yes.
And when you are in London, you see a lot of wealth.
Yes.
But when you are in Hartlepool or Cleethorpes, you don't see that much wealth. You see a lot of poverty. You see that the place was rich at a certain stage,
Yes.
but it isn't anymore.
Yeah.
In fact, you see a lot of poverty. You see a lot of misery.
Yes.
And it's very easy to explain. We are, until 2 weeks ago, we were the fifth greatest economy. Now we are the sixth, and maybe by the end of the week we'll be 12, which is still quite impressive considering the fact
Yes.
that nobody's working here
That's right.
except me. I'm going. Nobody is working. Why no one is working? Because our 75% of our economy comes from services,
Yeah.
which means that a tiny fraction of our population is producing 75% of the wealth
Yeah.
in this country. Now, can we change? Here is a
Yes.
problem. Can it change? It's a big question. For instance, for us to be a very powerful service economy specializing in banking, we need the pound to be very, very strong. For us to be a productive nation that export, we need the pound to be very weak, at least for a while.
Mm.
So our products are cheap. Here is a conflict.
Yeah.
Here is a conflict between the people and the Mammonites. Now, you take London, you look at the results of the Brexit, yeah?
Yes.
You take London out, you take Scotland out, you take Northern Ireland out, and you find out that 80% of the Brits live out London,
Yeah.
want to leave.
Of course. They're the ones who are suffering.
Because the people in London, by the way, also don't really work, but they see, my house, I don't know, it's like 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. Most of the people in London living now in houses, they could have, people who own houses are living in houses they could have never buy again.
Yeah.
Or they couldn't, I live in a house I could never bought, and they can see it. Yesterday, a friend of mine, musician, said, "Wow, it's going to be so awful now. The houses, the property, our property is going." I tell him, "Listen, man, it's not that we worked to get our property to be non-realistic.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just something that happened to us. It would take me probably 12 lifetime to buy the house I'm living in.
Yes.
So it's not something that I achieved something. I was just lucky."
Yeah.
But there is very important statistic to understand. Many of us who live in London, and you live in London,
Yes.
we feel kind of very privileged that we worth so much money, but it is a very misleading way to look at it. Because the richer I am, the poorer
Yes.
is my son.
Yes.
The richer I am, the less my son and daughter and your son and daughter have a chance, or grandchild or whatever, have a chance to have a roof.
That's right.
So the richer I am, the poorer humanity is.
Yes.
It's not, I don't like it.
I know.
I don't like it. And this is why a lot of, we tend to say, I even wrote about this demography, that people with higher education voted to remain, which means that people with lower education wanted to leave. Obviously, this is statistics. It doesn't mean necessarily that you're talking.
Yeah.
But what we learned out of it is that people with higher education are not necessarily smarter.
Correct.
And definitely not necessarily more ethical.
No.
All right?
Yes.
Be ethical is to understand the meaning of the disaster you are part of. Now, we spoke about Brexit.
Yes.
And it is camouflage. It is camouflage for Mammonism. And this explains why 3 days after the Brexit, the biggest hero of the Brexit, Mr. Boris Johnson, ran away.
Because they never expected it to be Brexit.
Exactly.
They didn't consider. They were controlled opposition.
Now you are
totally controlled opposition.
Yeah.
Never, ever expected the Brexit vote.
Exactly. Brexit wasn't supposed to win. It was supposed to get 45%.
Yes.
That would actually pave the way for Boris Johnson to become the prime minister. Well, by the way, it could be a lot of fun. He's a funny guy. We need some entertainment on the way down. It could be, he is funny. We do some crazy stuff. But he won, and the meaning of it was that if he becomes the prime minister within a week,
yep,
he would have to issue kind of a leave, this Action 50 or whatever it is called.
That's right.
All right. So Michael Gove, who is an horrendous character.
I couldn't agree more. Oh my God!
For sure. He was set to create the condition for Boris Johnson to leave. Politicians don't leave because a friend of theirs think that they are not qualified to lead.
No.
They're used to it. Next, for me, the biggest hero of the Brexit victory, the Leave victory, is obviously Nigel Farage.
Yes.
Nigel Farage fought for it for 20 years.
Yes.
And he also evaporated.
That's right.
I really didn't expect that one.
Neither did I.
So was he also a shield? I don't know, but it is very, very suspicious.
Yes, it is.
So what happened now? We had an exercise. We had a Mammonite exercise.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out. The British people voted against the will. But now today it is clear that Theresa May is going to be the prime minister. I
hope not. I really hope not.
She's definitely a prime minister within 2 weeks.
I hope not.
No, it's not down. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not that I'm happy. But what I'm saying, she's definitely she's the next prime minister. But what is very interesting, is that Theresa May obviously didn't support. Was a Remain enthusiast. and she would probably strike a new deal because, as you probably know, everybody knows now, and the French want the Frexit. Everybody wants to
Yep.
live,
That's right. It's
yeah,
wonderful. Yeah.
yeah. So there will be kind of a new setting that will obviously serve the interest of the Mammonites and the Jewish lobby. Theresa May, all the people that they were involved in the campaign were on both sides are the most dedicated Sabos Goim in Europe. Michael Gove is a Jewish lobby ash puppy.
I know.
Boris Johnson just visited in Israel, told them how much he loves them. You can
I know.
see
Yeah.
pictures of him with a skull cap.
If they want to
I
serve Israel, go to Israel. We
Yeah,
don't want them here.
this is and then you have Theresa May. If you look for Theresa May Jew, you see her standing in a conference. Je suis juif.
That's
Theresa
right.
May, and this other potato, what his name, Eric Pickle.
Yeah.
Is the same thing. He's not a Jew. He's a potato.
Yep.
Je suis potato. I don't know.
I,
And when it comes, to the labor, I was actually really enthusiastic for 2 weeks about Corbyn, just to
yes.
find out that it took him 1 week in office to run to the Jewish lobby in an attempt to
Exactly.
appease them. It is very clear that British people will have to do more than just going to a referendum in order to emancipate themselves. Somebody, and I really hope that it's not going to be me, because I really don't want to get involved in. I prefer to analyze
Yes.
the political discourse rather than being part of it. I'm really not a politician, but obviously I identify some streams within this discourse that are very troubling. Another example of deviation or diversion, or whatever you want to call it, the Chilcot.
Yeah. Oh my God.
The Chilcot inquiry. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same story.
Yes,
We
but
have a
look who was
problem.
assisting him.
More than that.
Yes.
For me, it was very clear from the beginning that the war in Iraq was basically a Zionist war, a Jewish war. Even the oil companies didn't really want it. They could see that it would destabilize the oil market. It was a war for Israel against whom they regarded at the time as the last obstacle to the Zionist project, Saddam Hussein.
Yep.
At the time, Tony Blair took us into this criminal, immoral interventionist war. Lord Levi was the chief fundraiser.
Yes.
Lord Levi, people don't know, is a Zionist Jew.
I know.
The LFI, Labor Friends of Israel, were with Lord Levi the leading fundraisers for Tony Blair political affairs. Lord Goldsmith, by the way, I don't know enough about the affiliations, political affiliations of Lord Goldsmith, but he was the guy who gave the green light to the war. The people who supported the war in the British media were clearly Zionist Jews. One of them is David Aronovich.
Yes.
Who I think at the time was already writing for the Times.
Mm-hmm.
In The Guardian, it was Nick Cohen that at the time had the chutzpah to claim that he wasn't a Jew, but since then he admitted that he is a Jew.
Yes.
With such a name, Cohen, what could it be? A Nigerian refugee?
But Gilad, do you realize that in the last year, a lot of the Zionist Jews have changed their names to Irish names? Quite a lot of them.
Really?
Yes. This is
Give me an example.
Oh, I can't. I've got it in.
I changed my name to Gilad Atzmon, but people told me this Atzmon, it doesn't work. It doesn't sound like anything. Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, in 2010, I think, the veteran British ambassador to Libya
Hmm.
that looked at the 5 members of the Chilcot inquiries, he stood up and he said, listen, this is nonsense. Out of 5 members, you have 2 Jews
Yes.
that are Blair supporter. One of them is an avid Zionist,
Yes.
Gilbert, the historian, clumsy historian, no doubt, and he said, this is it's a whitewash.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm saying it now because when this inquiry will establish its findings, everyone will say that it's a whitewash.
Yeah.
And it established its findings. And nobody except me said that it's a whitewash.
Who listens to us these days?
I don't know. I can see that quite a lot of people took it from my side and
Yes.
it went viral.
Yes.
But where is the British press? Where is the
They're
BBC?
totally controlled.
Exactly. So British people are kind of schlepped from one disaster into a bigger disaster. We see a snowball. American society is going through the same experience.
Mm-hmm.
The French, the Italian, the Spanish. About Greece, I didn't check what happened in the 2 hours. In Greece, it's like constant, it's like really so big that you cannot see it anymore.
Mm.
I actually don't visit this country anymore. The last time I played it, they didn't even pay me.
Oh. I know.
It's completely gone. It's complete bankruptcy. And one country is actually quite solid.
Yes.
Germany.
Yes.
Why?
They're workers, the Germans. They really.
They. If I go back to Henry Ford.
Yeah.
He said production.
Yes.
Versus banking.
Yeah.
Then there is Fritz Lang to the Metropolis.
Yes.
And then they decide to kick out the bankers.
Yep.
And they are productive society. They are the only society in the West that is manufacturing based.
Yes.
Why? For a society to operate organically, we need agriculture.
Yes.
We need factories.
Yes.
We need people to have a prospect of a future. We are born, we don't choose to be born. We are thrown into this world, into this universe, and living in a society is there, regardless of who we are, how clever we are, how stupid we are, a prospect of future and a sense of meaningfulness.
Yes.
And this is something that we have lost because we are all reduced into consumers in this Mammonite.
That's right. Well, what I would like to see in the future, Gilad, is the removal of all political parties. Only elect people who are honest and have good intentions, that you can say, right, you're not doing a good job, go. you can get rid of them. We have to step away from political parties.
I tend to agree, to agree with you, and I believe that we are now we have reached what I call the post-political
Yes,
condition.
yes.
We understand that politics is pretty much a camouflage.
Oh, yes.
We understand it. We understand the dynamic of a controlled opposition.
Yes.
And one of the most devastating thing that happens to us is that we understand that the way our political system is set allowed some very dangerous lobbies, and
Yes.
definitely the Jewish lobby is
Yes.
one of them, to take an advantage
Yep.
and corrupt whatever is left out
That's
of our
right.
political system.
They're
All
just
right?
puppets. They're puppets obeying their masters. They
Yeah.
do not work for us.
Now this is why 2 years ago you realize out of a sudden, pretty much out of the blue, that the Scots don't want to be
Yes.
part of this nation. They said, no, we don't like it anymore. Half of them say, we want
Yes.
these Scots. We tell them, what is wrong? We are multicultural society. All these nonsense
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah.
What does it mean, multicultural society? That you speak as a woman, as a gay,
Yeah.
They said, no, we don't want that. You don't tell us to speak as Scots.
Yeah.
We are Scots.
That's right.
We are Scots, and we want
Absolutely.
out of it.
Yes.
And this threat is kind of in play all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, 2 weeks ago, we saw that the Brits
Yeah.
want to be English.
I know. Oh
And
my God. Yes.
this is very, very interesting.
I know.
Now, this is not very surprising, because the Israelis,
Yeah.
the Jews, who taught us to speak as and make all this kind of mess around us, with the Jewish left, the Jews themselves don't buy it.
I know.
They go to Israel and they say, I don't want to think as a Jew, I want to be a Jew.
Yes.
And they support Israel.
That's
And
right.
they support their lobbies.
I know.
And then with no shame, David Aronovich advocates wars in our midst.
I know.
This is the story. And we are coming now. There is a moment of general awakening.
Yes.
The
Very much.
Brexit,
Yeah.
Trump are just the symptoms of this awakening.
Yes.
And it's a clear red alert warning
Yes.
for the Mammonites.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, or historically, they never get the message.
They don't
And
want to hear it.
for sure, because this message mean volatile situation,
Mm-hmm.
and there is an opportunity to make a lot of money in a very short time.
Yes.
There may be a war, maybe even a global war. Gold is going to rise, silver.
Yes.
All right? This is how they think. It's pretty devastating, because a lot of innocent people are paying hugely for their games. And it is very devastating for me, because, I grew up in Israel.
I know.
And
You survived it.
I was kind of survived it. I'm a Holocaust survivor. In spite of all the Holocaust indoctrination,
No.
I managed to sustain some humanity. Not a lot, but kind of enough to get on your show. I'm quite devastated, because you would have expected that considering their history, Jewish people, or at least some of them,
Yeah.
would be very sensitive for the transition that we are experiencing.
Yes.
And the opposite is happening.
Absolutely.
In spite of all the clear signs, despite of the clear global awakening, what we see is denial.
That's right.
The denial is now total. And how do I know? Because when Jewish people sense that something is not right, they immediately invent a control opposition. So when Jews understand that Palestine, what Israel is doing in Palestine gives bad name to the Jews, they invent Jews for Palestine
Yeah.
to control the opposition.
That's right.
And what happened? The Goyim ran away. So it's okay. The Jews are taking care of it.
Ah.
The Jews understand that capitalism gives bad name to the Jews. They invent Marxism.
Yeah.
When Jews understand that something is not right with the Israeli lobby, AIPAC, LFI,
Mm-hmm.
they invent a counter lobby, like in America, J Street, George Soros pays for it.
Yeah.
What I didn't see is Jews for Brexit.
No.
There was no Jews for Brexit because they didn't understand yet that it is connected, that people start to see the connection.
Yes.
Between the Mammonites, and maybe I'm one of the first one, but I'm not the only one.
No.
When I'm talking, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Now we are not the only clever people around. Yeah, it's a trend. Now,
I wish there were more of you, Gilad.
no, I don't. I like to be unique. What are you doing to me? Next. Trump.
Trump.
It is very interesting, but suddenly that Trump may become the president. This could be a Jewish problem because all the Jewish progressives were against him. Immediately, Adelson started to say, "Oh, let's start Jews for Trump." That's the way it's dynamic. Now, Mammonism is not solely, but it's largely a form of Jewish economy, Jewish capitalism. As Henry Ford realized, they are not the only ones, but they are definitely overrepresented.
Mm-hmm.
They even say, some of the people who look into it, that Israel, that was established as a Jewish state and this fantasy of promised land, is now basically safe haven for this mammonist money, you know, when they need it. So, for instance, it is an established fact that 7 out of the 10 big Russian oligarchs are not just Jewish; they are Jews with Israeli the dual citizenship.
Yes.
Yeah, they hide their money in Israeli banks and Israeli financial institutes. This is what Israel is now.
I know.
Israel is there, and this is why Israel is prosperous financially.
Oh, yes.
Not because you don't see Israeli products on the shelves, except maybe hummus in Sabar hummus in Tesco. Yeah.
Yes.
Israeli tell us that they are an advanced society in terms of computers, blah blah blah. They're not in my computer in front of me. They will tell us that the Intel processor, even Intel doesn't want to work now in Israel.
No.
They are prosperous because they are involved in some dodgy trading.
Yes.
They are safe haven for dirty oligarchs' money. There is something that I cannot really speak much about because there was a rumor and I didn't have the means to verify it. They even said that 2008 when Lehman Brothers collapsed,
Yeah.
people can look into it and decide for themselves whether it is true or not. I cannot verify. The money, a lot of money moved from Lehman Brothers in New York office to Israel
Oh, yeah.
2-3 days before. You know, so this is the real meaning of the Jewish state. This is what it is for. It is a safe haven for this mammonism.
Yes.
And it's pretty devastating for the Israelis. When I joined the army, the Israeli army, I thought that army was still Israeli Defense Force, and I had a lot of issues with it because when I joined the army, and a year later, there was this war in Lebanon, first Lebanon war, which was complete aggression, and I realized that it's not a defense force; it's really an aggressor with hugely aggressive and oppressive force.
Yes.
However, for Israelis who join the Israeli army now, or go to the service reserve, which is something that you do in Israel, they really go to protect, to defend the interests of some rich bankers. While the time the Israeli finish their military service, they don't even have enough money to find a roof in Tel Aviv.
Yes.
It is so expensive.
I know.
And it's so expensive because apparently something like 25% of the flats in Tel Aviv are empty because they serve as Holocaust shelters to all these rich Jews from Britain, from France, from New York. Now, I'll ask you a question. Do you have a Holocaust shelter?
No.
Yourself? Do you know any person with a Holocaust shelter?
No.
No, I don't have a Holocaust shelter. People who have a Holocaust shelter who are people who can see that is a Holocaust awaiting for them somewhere in the future. Yeah. Why would people think that there is a Holocaust awaiting for them in the future?
Because they know what they've done to other people and it will come back on them.
Because they understand, I would be kind of slightly more careful because they understand that their identity, their politics, their elite is involved in some nasty games that can turn into a disaster. And this is where we are. So you can see that everything in my, it's like I would like to think about kind of an old watch where you see how things are moving inside, but this kind of, you can understand it. I can understand. My son, is a digital kid, they cannot think of the old clock or, but this is really what it is. We are dealing with a very orchestrated system. It took the Jews 3,000 years to develop this kind of survival mechanism.
Yes.
And this survival mechanism is set to bring disasters on the Jews because these disasters are there to help to retune their the system and move the people forward. Yes. The only problem with it is that a lot of innocent people are affected by it.
Yes.
Many of them are Jews, but not only.
That's
we
right.
know how many people died in World War II, for instance.
Yes. And that was orchestrated by the Jews as well. I mean, How many people realize that Winston Churchill was a Jew? Very
Even
few.
I didn't. Even I didn't know about that. What I knew about Winston Churchill, that he was definitely a Christian Zionist. I didn't know about him being a Jew. Can you educate me?
I'll send you some details on it.
By the way, I had a completely different impression when it comes to Winston Churchill. When I looked into his early writing, and some of them are actually very famous, it's very interesting. I think that Winston Churchill liked Zionism
Oh, yes.
because Zionism promised to take the Jews away. All right, he said it. He said it,
Yeah.
and I think that they because there was an element of an anti-Semite, I don't like this notion, within Churchill's work or thought, they appointed the Zionist Martin Gilbert to be in charge of his archive and history, just to make sure that
That's
everything is
right.
under control.
Oh,
So
yes.
this is how I see it. Which is slightly different, but I didn't know about. By the way, you know, the Jews are not a race. We know about
Well,
that.
I know that, but
You know,
most
so
people don't understand that.
yeah. So what it is, you know, in the old days, it was old days, 200 years ago. Still, it was a religious identity,
Yes.
a very strict one.
Mhm.
And once it stopped being a religious identity, it became a racially supremacist identity.
Yes.
Now, but I just said that they are not a race.
No, I know
No,
they're not.
they identify as a race.
Yes.
To be a Jew or to subscribe to Jewish politics doesn't mean that you belong to a race, but it definitely means that you subscribe to a racist ideology.
That's right.
And
Absolutely correct.
and this is why a lot of people behave like Jews without being Jews.
That's right.
And you know who is a classic example? I'm going to get a lot of hate mails for that from everyone. Adolf Hitler.
Exactly.
Adolf Hitler. The problem, if I have a problem with Adolf Hitler, yeah,
Yeah.
it was too Jewish for me.
Exactly.
You know, I don't have a problem with a person who believes that then all the people who speak German will live in equality, which is the original idea of National Socialism.
Yes.
It is very interesting, you know, when people speak about Italian fascism. Italian fascists, let's leave the authoritarian aspect of Mussolini aside for a minute.
Yeah.
Italian fascism said, we believe that Italians should have inequality. This is a great idea. The National Socialists in Germany said, we believe that the German-speaking people
Yes.
should live in equality. This is why the Austrians were so excited about the Anschluss.
Yeah.
They wanted to live with the German. They said, we are the same people, we speak the same language. This is the explanation of what happened in the Sudeten in the Czechoslovakia. The Germans said, we want to be part of that culture and to live with them in equality.
Yes.
Hitler, and this, let's say that it's open to discussion, but I will take now the Zionist narrative.
Yes.
Hitler believed, we have to question it, but let's go with it. Hitler believed in equality of one race. Equality of one race is like a problematic concept. Why? Because if you don't belong to that one race,
Exactly.
and you are born into a place where you know
Yep.
you are subject
Yep.
to oppression.
That's right.
Interestingly enough, the early Zionist project Israel 48 even.
Mm-hmm.
This was equality. It was a socialist project, Zionism, in the beginning until 77. This was equality of one race.
Yes.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
The Zionist project is identical to the Hitlerian project.
Absolutely.
People speak about Israel being apartheid. Israel never been apartheid.
Yeah.
Apartheid is a system of exploitation. Israel want the Palestinians out.
Yes.
They want them gone.
That's right.
It's not apartheid. This is an Hitlerian concept.
Yes.
Now, my favorite philosopher, Martin Heidegger,
Yes.
who was a National Socialist for a while,
Mm-hmm.
he actually identified it. He said the Jews hate Hitler because they see that he explores the politics that they are practicing for hundreds or thousands of years.
Absolutely.
Heidegger, the National Socialist, understood it.
Yes.
You know, the problem with Hitler that he was too Jewish.
I know.
But I wouldn't call him a Jew. But his philosophy was identical
Yeah.
with Jewish nationalism. Now, you ask yourself, Hitler, the National Socialist regime, survived for how long? 12 years? Look at Israel.
Yeah.
They're 70 years now.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is. It is. So how do you see the future for us?
I don't. It's not that it doesn't mean that you don't have a future.
Mm-hmm.
It means that my job as a thinker
Yes.
is not to produce answers.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that people who are slightly more advanced intellectually and who have the time in their disposal to engage in those issues
Mm-hmm.
have to help others to refine the questions rather than bringing answers, which is what the idiotic leftists are doing.
Yeah.
The activists, they call themselves. Tomorrow, 2:00, we come, and
Oh,
then you
I
come
know.
to them, and there are slogans.
Yeah.
I said, no. Don't waste your time. First, try to understand what is the question.
Yes.
Why? Why do they ask us to get engaged in this Brexit? And if we engage in it, are they going to let us go there? What is this whole issue?
Yeah.
My job is to refine the questions,
Yes.
and I think that I'm quite good at it. And how do I know that I'm quite good at it? Because they engage a lot of energy trying to silence me.
Exactly.
Very simple.
I
Very
know.
simple. Very
If they're
simple.
trying to shut you up, it means what you're saying is important.
Yeah, exactly. This is how it works.
I know.
Yeah,
Get the same, I can assure you. Yeah.
yeah. I understand. So here we are.
But we have to take responsibility now. Each of us. Don't leave it to the politicians to tell us what to do. We have to engage together and decide what we want.
I tell you, you're probably right, and I think that British people. I hope that many British people realize that they were taken for a ride
Yes,
in
Ted Heath.
this Brexit
Yeah.
or in Chilcot.
Yeah.
And this is exactly the issue. I always compare between Noam Chomsky
Yes.
who I regard as one of the most uniquely boring and stupid people in the history of Western thinking,
Yeah.
and Martin Heidegger.
Yes.
Noam Chomsky is telling us what to say, which is a typical lefty adventure.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it says, oh, they call apartheid. Israel is apartheid. Colonialism. They've thrown us all those terms.
Yeah.
Martin Heidegger thought that was role is to teach us how to think.
Yes.
The job, the task of the teacher is to teach others how to teach themselves,
Yes.
how to think for themselves.
Absolutely.
This is what I try to do. So you ask me what I think about the future. It's none of your business what I think about the future. It's none of your business.
I know.
Business. No, I'm not trying to be rude. Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
you know what matters
Yes.
is if people who listen to me now take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or 1 hour,
Yes.
or the future to think about their own future.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's what I think.
Yes. Yes.
Simple.
People are so used to being told what to do, what to think, how to do. That's what
And
it's
this
all.
and this is the farce of democracy.
Mm.
Democracy has become a system that conveys the image of freedom. It is there to suggest that the mess that we encounter is basically our choice. No, it is not our
No
choice.
way.
Yeah, yeah, we are pulled from into it, and I think that people start to see it.
Yes.
I would have loved to resolve it with no violence. I don't know how to do it yet.
Yes.
Yeah,
But people are beginning to wake up. And the awakening is worldwide. It isn't just in Europe.
yeah, definitely, I agree.
I think America is going to have big, big problems soon.
By the way, America
Yeah,
is in big problems.
I know it
You know,
is. Yes.
if you visit America,
Yeah.
you really want to get upset, fly to Detroit.
Yep.
If you fly to New York, take a ride to New York.
Yep.
By the way, the other day, I visited Kiryat Yoel in New York. Have you heard about this place?
No.
It is 1 hour from Manhattan,
Yeah.
and it's a village of, I don't know, a few thousand
Mm-hmm.
Orthodox Jews, and it was very interesting for me to go there
Yes.
because these are Satmar Jews. The Satmar Jews are anti-Zionist Jews. They are kind of Torah Jews.
Uh-huh.
They're not the Torah Jews, but they are ultra-Orthodox, with the
Yeah,
black and
I know.
and the path and they're ultra-Orthodox Jews. It's kind of in the middle of the forest,
Mm-hmm.
in a beautiful place. But Kiryat Yoel itself is one of the ugliest places I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
It is dirty
Yes.
beyond belief.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Like the dirt in the street.
Mm-hmm.
It is not something that I've ever seen in America.
Yeah.
And it is near to a beautiful village called Monroe.
Yes.
And the people in Kiryat Yoel want to expand and to grab land
Oh,
from
God.
Monroe
Mm-hmm.
and they're buying the politicians.
Of course,
And,
that's, yeah.
and they pay money to the bribery.
Yeah.
It's like it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And they try to annex land. It's a land grab.
Mm-hmm.
And you see Orthodox Jews, rabbinical, engaged in exactly
Yeah.
the same practices that we see in Israel.
Israel.
And
I know.
practically, they make the people in Monroe into the Palestinians of New
Exactly.
York.
Yep.
And here's some other interesting information that you may like to share with your audience.
Mm-hmm.
I was driving in Monroe with a friend, journalist, who took me there. And you see a lot of young men with this kind of Jewish, Hasidic, Orthodox custom, outfit. It wasn't Sabbath. It was Monday or Tuesday. It was Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all coming from the synagogue and, with this kind of, they carry their religious text or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see a single one of them working in the street.
No.
There was a lot of kind of labor around, people walking in the road and building. They're
Yes.
all clearly immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
I went into the supermarket.
Yeah.
They have two supermarkets. I expected to see very cheap kosher food.
Yes.
It was prices like Manhattan.
Oh my God.
Very,
Yeah.
very expensive. Very, very expensive. It was two posh fitting supermarkets.
Mm-hmm.
When I met some people from Monroe, in order to get some details into this about the community,
Yeah.
I realized that 93%, and this number may not be accurate, but definitely more than 80% of the people of Kiryat Yoel are on income support. They're getting medical aid.
Yes.
I never know if it's Medicare, Medicare or Medicaid. I'm not American, all right, but it's kind of an income support
Yeah.
to help you with your
Yeah.
health services. You're entitled to health services, and you get it only if your income is less than $5,000 a year. And here is an astonishing number. The rent for a small flat in Kiryat Yoel is $4,000. So it's like New York.
Yeah.
Which means that it's a huge fraud operation. Obviously, they're all living on black money, probably from the diamond industry.
Yes.
In the city,
Mm-hmm.
and they take money in a very non-kosher manner from the people, the American people around them. And these are the good rabbinical anti-Zionist Jews. I really tried to support them. It's just impossible.
You can't. No.
Just impossible.
I know. What's truth anymore? Truth is bent in every direction to make it what they want.
You know what? I don't agree. Truth is never bent. Truth is that thing that always reveals itself against all odds.
Yes.
All right?
The truth will set us free.
Exactly.
That's
truth,
what I keep telling my friend.
I found out at a certain stage telling the truth about the people who used to be my people,
Yeah.
they're definitely not my people anymore,
Yes.
made me feel great.
I know.
The more I felt great, the more they hated me. The more they hated me, the greater I felt.
You and I have experienced that. I know.
Yes, there is something
Yeah.
really, it's a liberation.
It
It's a
is.
liberation. It's a liberation. And I think that the Brexit
Yeah.
was a moment of truth.
Exactly. That's what
But,
I
but,
felt as well. Yeah.
but truth often doesn't realize itself.
Yeah.
All right. So it was a moment of truth. Truth is not that we want to leave Europe or that we want to leave Europe or that which this is what we happen to say. The truth is that we are really unhappy the
Exactly.
way things are.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's quite amazing to witness the way the political world is reacting to it.
Oh, yes.
The Labour Party is in a total panic.
That's right.
They try to blame someone. They blame the wrong guy
Yeah.
because he is the only guy in this party who has a kind of a popular support.
Yeah.
And I must admit that as much as I would love to, I don't even support him.
No.
He is popular because at least he points at
Yeah.
those issues like austerity,
Yes.
accommodation. Is not sophisticated enough to, or maybe not brave enough, probably not brave enough to
Yeah.
point at the real issues.
Yeah. To
So
stand up for.
they want to get rid of him.
I know.
The Tories were incredibly clever
Yes.
to take this Brexit and to turn it into an internal Tory dispute
Exactly.
between the Prime Minister and the
Yeah.
person who was destined to take over,
Yeah.
in spite of his small defeat in Brexit. And when these two didn't manage to come with the right results, they brought another Sabos Goy, Theresa May, and
Yeah.
she will be the Prime Minister in 4 days or 2 weeks at the most.
Yeah.
At least the Tories are sophisticated. Devious, I mean by that.
Yes. But my thoughts are very strongly now with people who are going to work for the people, for the good of all the people. Independents who will come forward.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I would suggest that your followers
Hmm.
read Henry Ford.
Yes.
It is just something like $2-3
Yeah.
on Kindle. Actually, in America, it's even free on Prime.
Hmm.
Somebody told me. I suggest that they watch Metropolis. It's a fun film. It's a bit long.
Yeah.
Fritz Lang.
Hmm.
We are awaiting for a leader.
Well.
We are waiting for the leader, and this is a very similar situation to early 20th century.
Yes.
This is exactly what the American people felt
Hmm.
when they thought about Henry Ford.
Yes.
This is what Fritz Lang expressed in Metropolis. This is what the Italian expressed when they went after the Duce.
Yes.
This is what the German people expressed when they went for Hitler.
Hitler. Yeah.
And this is what the American people were so happy to find in Roosevelt.
Yes.
We need, now I don't approve of Roosevelt as much as I don't approve of Hitler or Mussolini,
Yeah.
or, I'm beyond this political discussion,
Yes.
by the way, and some people would say that this is what Russian people found in Stalin, and still find in Stalin, by the way. This is what the Russian people now find in Putin.
I like Putin.
You're not the only one.
I like him because
He's a
he got,
man.
yes,
He's a man and he's a leader.
he is a
And
leader and he
he's a
looks
leader.
after his people.
Yeah, all right. So this is, and the Brits have politicians that look after bankers.
Absolutely.
And the Americans have Hillary Clinton,
Oh,
looks after Wall Street.
I know.
And the French have a socialist party that is working for bankers and the Jewish lobby.
Yeah.
And the same happens in Greece and
You know.
and this is something that every European nation understands. And I tell you something, Merkel is not one of those. She's working with the bankers,
I
but she's
know.
working with the industrialists. When she made, whether it's a mistake or not a mistake, she decided to take 1 million refugees. She did it because she thought that it would be an important thing for German industry, German people. Germany is becoming an older society. There were a lot of considerations. Now she may understood that she made a mistake. By the way, people are entitled to make mistakes.
Yes. Yeah.
Roosevelt made mistakes. Stalin made 2 mistakes. Hitler made
Yeah.
mistakes. All right.
Yes.
So we know where we are standing. But one of the symptoms of the post-political condition is that we don't trust politicians. We want a leader.
Absolutely.
And what is the definition of a leader? And I'm going back now to George Sorel, who influenced Lenin, Mussolini, and I believe Hitler as well.
Yeah.
We are looking for a person that would embody our thoughts
Yes.
and needs. And this is why when we look at Stalin or Mussolini or Hitler as authoritarian people or authoritarian regimes like communism, fascism, and National Socialism, we probably make a mistake, because when you listen to Hitler speeches,
Yes.
he says it openly, I don't want these parties.
Yeah.
I am your Führer. I am your will.
Yes.
And by the way, it is quite amazing because if you're talking about Hitler, where at the time he was elected in 33, the support was 33 to 36%. Within a very short time, it became huge.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, it's embarrassing to say, but historians speak about 95 to 99%. The working class marched behind him.
I know. Yeah.
And this, we know what happened in the world, and, not that I blame him solely. We know who started the war. It wasn't actually Germany.
Absolutely.
But this deserves another discussion.
Yes.
This deserves another discussion, but again, I'm not taking a political side here, but we get now to the point that the mistrust of the political
Yes.
makes it clear that we need a person that can march us
Absolutely.
into a better future.
Yes.
without being bought by Mammonites
Yes.
and or subscribing to Mammonism. Unfortunately,
There isn't anyone.
Unfortunately, theoretically speaking,
Yeah.
this was supposed to be the role of Jeremy Corbyn. Okay, in an ideal, in an ideal world, last August, Jeremy Corbyn, a person who was a backbencher all his life, never surrendered, and he just got there, and it was kind of, I thought that it would take him 2 weeks. I said to people, listen, I don't know whether he's going to become the prime minister, but at least for the first time we'll have an opposition.
Yeah.
He didn't even have a opposition for 1 week. Within 1 week, he had his first meeting with the BOD.
Exactly.
The Deputies of Jews,
I know.
This is
under control immediately.
This means, and it's very tragic, the left cannot provide the good.
That's right.
So you say, who can? Nigel Farage? He was the first to run away.
I know.
It's all control opposition. Wherever you look, it's control opposition because the political system is dead. It's completely detached from us. It is just there to facilitate credit for the big bankers.
I couldn't agree with you more.
So we consume forever.
Yeah.
So we consume forever. But now we are saying it. We are saying it. It means that we are one step ahead. We are slightly more clever. Here I am. I'm saying it. It's read Henry Ford. Understand the meaning of production.
Yes.
Demand the meaningfulness of your life to be reinstated. Good luck.
I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely correct.
This is good. I will have to leave now because I have to do some things. But if it's okay, if you just want to ask the last question or something like that.
Gilad, can we meet sort of every couple of months or something and talk about how things are progressing?
There is nothing I like more than talking.
Thank you.
I would love to. It's very easy for me, I'm sorry that my microphone didn't work properly, as I have to look into the system what happened.
I know.
But you are always welcome here, and I'll be delighted.
And please, if ever you're in this area, do please pop in and see me.
Yeah, I'll be delighted.
You're very
welcome. Keep safe.
And you, my dear. Thank you
nice
so much. God bless.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, darling. Bye-bye.